To stay fit, to be active, okay.
Promote healthy.
To stay healthy.
To motivate a group of people.
Okay, so we're motivating a group of people at one time.
To build on
Camaraderie, so fellowshipping, building happiness, leisure, right? The purpose of group fitness is to bring people together and move through fitness. So what is the purpose of group fitness? Properly designed and executed classes have the capability of empowering people with the ability to improve the quality of life, as well as expanding their social engagement by connecting them with others. That's straight from ACE. Okay? So group exercises in general should be designed to enhance the 5 components of fitness. Who knows what the 5 components of fitness are? Top please.
Flexibility.
Flexibility is one. Josie, I saw your hand.
Muscular endurance.
Muscular endurance is definitely one.
Strength.
Muscle strength.
Or that muscular endurance is
Muscular strength. Flexibility.
Body composition.
Cardiorespiratory. And body composition. Okay?
Cardiovascular.
Did we get them all? Cardiorespiratory, endurance, muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, body composition. Okay?
And those are considered the 5 health components of fitness. There are other components too, which are called skill-based components, but you don't need that right now. I'm just making it harder for you.
Giving them the tidbits that they need. So what is your expected population? This is something that we're going to get into a little bit later to kind of help you think about where your perfect host site is, right? This information, talking to your host sites, asking mentors or other warriors in the community, and consider who may be most likely to attend your class based on the time and location of your class, right? That's what's going to help us to figure out your expected population. And some of the host sites that are listed, they already know who's coming, right? So Merriwood Apartments, we know there is a group of 50 plus Russian-speaking ladies that come together, and they're moving together regularly, and that's what they want, is someone to help them conduct this regular movement. We used to have a warrior there named Carol. Okay, we'll talk more about these specific host sites later. The Calhoun Center. A lot harder to get people out of those apartments, but you're right there, right? You know, you're dealing with the lower socioeconomic, mostly Black and brown folks coming to move. So knowing your center will help you to realize who your expected population is. This information can help guide you when designing the workout, which includes elements such as the complexity of exercise movements, intensity of the exercise, modifications that may be required, and even music selection. You want to know what kind of space you're working with, okay? When you choose your host site, you want to become familiar with the space you will be leading your class in at the host site. Where are the restrooms? Is the room wheelchair accessible? Are there water fountains, or should participants bring their own water? Leading parts of your class, your workout outside lends great visibility to your class. So is there a space where, hey, it's warm, can I take the class outside on the front lawn so that those people in the apartments that aren't watching know that I'm here and can see what we do, right? So knowing your host site, knowing where people can park. You guys were there last week, well, 2 weeks ago when we were Westover Hills, and it was like, oh, I park here and go where? Right, so being able to let the people know ahead of time, hey, because it's already paying for me to get here, how do I get in once I get here? What do I need to expect?
If this is something we get to later, I can hold up, but
No, please go.
what about like limits? Like if, like you say, know your space, and say you feel that it's a max of 10 people, but you had 12 persons want to come in, and you don't want to turn away. How do you accommodate that?
That is an amazing question, right? So in a situation like that, where you know your host site space is small, that information needs to be given to me as soon as possible. So it is explicitly written on the website, right? So we know that, hey, it's limited space. We're holding no more than 10.
Tobacco hatchet flats.
Flats come to mind. It's a beautiful space, it's just small. So we know that to be able to socially distance folks, we will need to limit the number of people that's able to come to that class. Okay, so that's something that we'll deal with ahead of time on the front end of stuff instead of on the back end. So therefore, you won't have to worry about a 12 person showing up. If we know that for your class, Thomas, they need to sign up, it's a little different for your class. So then when you know, hey, yep, we only got 10 coming in, make sure you get that list before class starts, so you're well aware of who's coming. Any other questions? That was a good one. Right here, other things that you should consider regarding your space for your class, the square footage, so the maximum capacity of the room. Space like this, you can go for days, right? I can have as many as I want in here, we can move easily around the space without bumping into one another. The flow of traffic into and out of the area, right? I know there's 2 doors here, you notice that we purposely opened that door for you guys to flow into the room this way, sign in there, to make it easy for them. Where is the emergency exit located? There. And if you run backwards, there's doors that way too. But making sure that you can clearly tell people where everything is laid out. Any obstacles? We were at St. Paul's, Elm Street, which is up here in Petersburg, and they have these lovely, beautiful pillars in the middle of the room. And you would have to shimmy around the pillars, but knowing what you can and can't do in that space, right? And is there equipment there? Some home sites, like this one, you turn around, she has steps up there, she has a punching bag, so knowing what's there. The DCS host site has all the things, it's the best thing ever. There are dumbbells and mats and kettlebells and all the things you can design. Remember in the beginning, we want you guys keeping it simple, keeping the equipment low. And the room temperature. Something we're definitely experiencing today. Is it warm enough in the space you're in? If not, how do you adjust it? Who do you talk to? Most of the host sites that you guys have signed up to leave, there'll be someone there to adjust this situation. Spaces like this, Covenant Presbyterian, has been around since 2017. My fellow warrior sister, Miss Sarah Nave, was the head pastor here at the church and led her class here. So Ricky has a key, right? So a space like this is a little different. There are several spaces that they literally hand the warrior the key and go, okay, great, here it is. Do what you gotta do.
At your Memorial Flats, I got the key to that too.
There, pathways, there's a key. Presbyterian, the Presbyterian church, there's a key. So there are certain places where the warrior, Rebecca, will be in Colonial Heights, where she has the key to unlock and keep the stuff. So that just also speaks to how trusted we are as volunteers. That these places that charge for you to utilize their space is like, yeah, here's the key. You lock up, you unlock, you do what you gotta do, we trust you. Okay?
That's
You wanna
deep.
maintain that.
That's deep, yeah.
Oh, it's very easy.
I'm gonna think about, I guess, the equipment question about music. If someone thinks they'll have a speaker, like I have a speaker, I can probably bring.
So certain equipment such as speakers is on y'all, us, to make sure that we're able to do. I started my class and I had a Beats pill, that's what I used for the longest. The library had a radio, like literally a cassette player, a CD player, going back to the is there an aux plug-in? He was like, no, this is 2017. I was like, is that even an aux plug-in? I can't do that. So I went out and I bought this speaker. And I got $100 for me from Walmart. It was $100. So anything that plays down, I'm not saying go buy a $100 speaker. The $5 speaker and Five Below hits just as great.
Right.
The
Bluetooth.
directly to your phone.
Yep.
You don't have to go out. You don't go out buying headsets until you're ready to buy headsets and things of that nature. Because warriors will tell you, it gets exciting, right? Like, ooh, I'm a fitness instructor, I got my speaker, I have a headset, I got my video with a ring light, like, I'm out here like, oh, my God. But I started in 2017, so it's a little different for me now, right? Like, I'm going in, I have a car that I specifically buy fitness clothes for, because this is what that's about. It's my career. So be cognizant of your finances. It's easy for you to get looped into it and go down the rabbit hole. I don't want you guys to spend more than you need to. Okay? We are a nonprofit. We do have funds. Those funds are limited, but you guys will be invited to apply for a mini grant for equipment and things that you need. So that is something that we do try to alleviate that stress. So if you are at a home site and you want to take it up a notch, but you don't have equipment, there is a process of applying for funds for that home site. Now, I'm running down the rabbit hole. Understand that those funds are for the host site. So you and the host site have to agree on what you're ordering. The check gets cut to the host site, not the warrior. Okay? And we'll talk about more of that later. General principles of all group exercise classes. Can someone read this one for me?
Pre-class preparation, warm-up, cardio segment, muscular strength, endurance segment, cool down, flexibility.
So while each of your classes will have a unique flair, be held in different parts of our region, and geared towards varying ages and ability, there are some general principles that apply to all group exercise classes. Namely, all group exercise classes begin with that pre-class preparation. Okay? What that means is your class may start at 6 o'clock. That does not mean that you show up at 6 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
right? There is a need, very much like when you guys get to training day, you have a sign-in process.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know where your stuff goes, tell you where the bathrooms are located, we welcome you. We are here prepping prior to you guys even walking into that door. Rick and I were here at 9 o'clock, right? So we ask that you get to your host site at least 15 minutes ahead of time so that you can prep your space. Some spaces, like this one was when we got here, had tables set up. So you might have to move the tables and chairs out of the way before you can start class. You might need to, like at Alicia's location, we'll go into the closet, we'll wheel out a thingy that has the weights and the Clorox wipes on it, right? So there might be some setup needed for your class, so it does require you to get there a little bit early. Think about that when you're thinking about the time that your class is gonna start, okay? After that preparation, y'all know the deal, it's time to, people come in, it's time to warm them up, include the cardiorespiratory segment. Finish up kickoff with a warm-up segment. Include a cardiorespiratory segment, which can include muscular strength, endurance segments, and conclude with a cool-down/flexibility segment. The emphasis of each segment will undoubtedly vary depending on the purpose of each specific class, the demographics and ability level of class participants, or the previous activity of class participants. So what I mean is, the older your class, the longer your warm-up. Maybe. It might take their bodies longer to get ready for this movement. So a 5-minute warm-up might not work for that class, especially if you're going for an hour. Extend the warm-up. Make sure that every joint, every body part is really ready to move. Rehearse your moves. If you know that your next set is going to have squats in it, get some warm-up squats in there. They don't have to be. Let's get our bodies ready to do that, right? I know I'm going into a cardio segment where we're getting some high knees. Start off marching, right? Get their bodies really revved up to move. Understanding that kids don't take quite as long to warm up at all, right? So you can do more with them and have more fun with them earlier on in the workout compared to our older population. Any questions, Rick?
I'm gonna add something in there. So you don't necessarily always have to have a cardio segment. You don't necessarily always have to have that muscular endurance segment either. If you're doing a class that's primarily on the floor, a mat class, Pilates, yoga class, there probably won't be any cardio. So you can't say depending on the modality, you can't say, okay, you still need to have a cardio section in there, you don't have a cardio section, but it's a class. So, and same for like a Zumba class. There's like a Zumba strong, if you're gonna do that, but if it's a Zumba dance class, where is your muscular strength and endurance segment? It ain't gonna be in there. Right, so that goes back to that always this or always that. It ain't necessarily so. There's a song, but yeah, go ahead. Ain't necessarily so. I'm old as hell, go ahead. Damn, I just told ladies again.
So part of your pre-class preparation involves the preparation done well in advance of the start of your class, such as current training here with us, right? Or in the weeks leading up to the start of your class, visiting your home site, submitting your class design worksheet, promoting your class. In the half hour before your class, arriving early, having copies of paperwork ready to go, final safety checks of equipment, space, music cues, and in the first few minutes of class, reviewing new participant cues in order to know their health histories, orienting new participants, introducing yourself, building rapport with participants, and serving as a role model for your participants. All go into play, just the preparation, right?
Mhm.
So you, right now, are in pre-class preparation. Getting the skills to be able to lead the class is a part of that. Figuring out your host site, driving around the community to see who's hanging out is a part of that. Talking to the people in the community to figure out what resonates with them is a part of that, right? Do not go to a church and play Gucci, man. That's a direct jab at somebody, and they will laugh with it, right? Knowing your
Yep.
audience is important,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So last year we had someone that taught a class or pop-up class at a church, and Gucci Man came on, and everyone that was there was like, "Oh!" And I hid behind the shed.
Mhm.
Not in the house of the Lord.
We weren't in the inside, we were outside.
Mhm.
Right? But still, it is important, pre-class preparation.
And then did it again after you was told not to do it. What the hell? I'm sorry.
Listen to your music.
Yes.
Okay? I'm gonna tell on myself. So on Tuesday, when you guys were with, I led the class on Zoom because our warrior, she was sick. Did a Pilates set. At the very last minute, because my day was hectic, I was like, I'm gonna use a playlist I already had. My personal playlist. It's called Showtime. I think it's a really good playlist. And I hit Ari Lennox, Pressure. Oh, that's right. And she said F, 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 F. I said, oh, I'm sorry guys, we're gonna switch the song.
Right.
Next song, go ahead, take the circle for the next one. We fall down, but we make mistakes, y'all. It's okay. It's okay to make a mistake. But when you hear it, switch it. And be okay with switching it, right? Did it fumble me a little? Yeah, in my head, this song was gonna work perfect for the warm-up. That big old E beside it should have said to me, what do you think? Okay. So be cognizant of listening through your music.
Talk to them about when they're reviewing the par cues and the initial paperwork on their very first class, how it might take a little longer. And
So, your first class will not start on time. It says class starts at 6. First and foremost, understand that someone's coming in 5 to 10 minutes late. Okay? If it's a brand new class, and they're doing the actual paperwork like you guys did, you'll get that part cue from everybody. So there's 5 new people in my class. I've been talking to you. If they pre-register for the class, this is on you. You will get an email from me whenever they register with all of their information. It's an email, it says Fitness Warriors registered participants, and it's whoever's registered for your class off of the online schedule. So you'll have an email from me, so once you check your sign-in sheet, once you check your sign-in sheet, you guys switch over to your classwork section, class paperwork. There is a sheet that looks like this. Right in the back of your weekly class. This is the participant sign-in sheet. In your in-person classes, this is what sits by the front door, okay? They fill in the date, they print their name, email address, phone number, and right there it says, I've completed registration, yes or no. If there is a no there, you're gonna hand them part Q and waiver, which you guys have completed your first day. Josie, you just did that earlier. If there is a yes there, that means if you don't have a part Q and waiver, they've registered online, and then you probably have an email in your inbox from them, letting you know they registered, okay? Either way, you still want to have their emergency contact, name, and number. This sheet is important that you keep on a weekly basis, because if something happens in class, it'll be easy for you to find their emergency contact information immediately. Contact anyone. This sheet, as well as all the other paperwork, is due quarterly to me. So January 1st, April 1st, July 1st, October 1st. I ask you to mail, drop off, get me these ASAP. It's our data. It's what helps to pay us. This also makes sure that I know that I should have a signed waiver as well as a part Q from everyone. The waiver is vitally important. That is your liability insurance. If they were to do what Jada did in somebody else's class and needs to go to the doctors, after we'll go through all this later, guys. After you guys notified me, I would pull this paperwork, contact our insurance company, and I'd contact the participant to let them know, go ahead, let them know that we'll handle whatever we need to handle. Okay?
So, confirmation, the sign-in sheet and the part Q every quarter.
Yes. Okay, so understand again, the first couple classes, it's not going to be 6 o'clock, let's go, yeah! It's probably gonna be more like 6:10, 6:15. All right, y'all, we got 45 minutes of work with stuff, right? To make sure that you have the time, so that if there is a yes, and you need to ask someone a question, that you can do that. Buffer your class time. So I know you know that class ends at 7, you're like, all right, cool, I'm out the door. Someone's gonna talk to you. Someone's gonna have something to say, someone's gonna want to show you something. Last class, we left, lady was like, Tiffany, I need you to do this with me. And showed me a whole TikTok challenge. When I see you next Thursday, we gonna do this and you gonna record it. Okay. Oh, I am. Oh,
What?
and I mean, Rick, a whole real push-up challenge, like.
Right.
I go right foot, left foot, something.
Right, right, yeah.
And I was like, oh, you serious? She was like, no, I'm serious. I've been practicing. I want to show my grandkids. Okay. So don't be shocked at the gamut of things that it might not be that, right? It could be something else. But they will stop and talk to you about something. I also need to know that her granddaughter plays basketball for the same school my daughter goes to, so they're going to share their life with you, buffer your class. Okay, so there's the prep time, but there's gonna be some closing time as well. Okay.
So y'all recording next Thursday?
I won't be at the cancel because of weather on Thursday, so I guess we're doing it on Thursday.
You see, I looked over at Alicia too.
Yeah, I've been doing my push-ups.
Yeah, okay.
I think I'm ready. And she said, I was like. She did not request it,
I was gonna ask that. All right.
It was dead serious. She's like, look, it goes like this.
Wait, do it again. Wait, do it. How does it go?
It goes left foot, it goes right foot, it goes left foot, it goes right foot, it goes
Open, then a push up.
Yeah, that's the wobble part.
It's a wobble. And they do it to the wobble. Okay.
It's done to a song, so I gotta speed all that up and actually.
Yeah, I have to show you.
Like to the left. That one?
I practice that.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
And I saw it, and I was like, ooh, that looks like fun. Nah, because if I hold my face, I don't want it on there. So after we've done our pre-class preparation, time to warm people up. Okay. Warm-up is designed to increase the blood flow to muscles, warm up all the major muscle groups through dynamic range of motion movements to prepare for the workout that will follow. Alternate rehearsal moves performed at a low to moderate speed and range of motion.
So what are you talking about in terms of realistic warm-up time? I know you said it depends on the people, so 5 to 10 minutes tops?
So for an hour-long class, I would say 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yep. On the exam, they will ask you a specific number. They'll give you some numbers to choose from. 12 is the ideal number. 12 minutes. That's the advantage of taking something like this before you get an exam. Because you're going to get experience with us, and you're going to hear stuff ahead of time. And once you see it in the book, oh, yeah, they talked about that.
Because think about it, if you did a 30-minute class and 12 minutes was a warm-up,
Yeah.
so depending on the level of class, it does make a difference as well. Keep in mind your population. The cardio segment, there he is, Mr. Jason Ben. Jason, if you're seeing this, Jason, then wear your shirt, your hoodies are here.
Right, Jason. Oh, let me see. Show, let's see.
Segment is aimed if
Bam.
the cardio segment, right? So
Represent.
if we're doing something that is cardio-based, it is aimed at improving cardio endurance by keeping participants' heart rates elevated at least 10 minutes up to 30 minutes. So last few minutes of the cardio segment should be less intense to give participants a chance to recover, especially if muscle work is scheduled after the cardio segment. Questions? Muscular strength and endurance. It can be included before or after the cardio segment. Focus can be on muscles that are not normally used in daily routines to ensure muscular balance, or on muscles that are often used in ADLs, activities of daily living, to improve functioning, especially for mature adults or inactive individuals. Instructors' primary responsibility is teaching proper technique to make sure the exercise is safe and effective. Okay? Form over speed always.
What's a good example of a muscular strength movement, endurance movement? Okay. Just testing.
Don't you like to zoom in on the picture like, that's me. Oh, that's me.
That's me, yeah. People have been telling me that. They're like, really different. Yeah, there you go. I'll take that.